Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to give you my October wrap up. I actually read 8 books this month and I'm actually pretty surprised with myself that the vast majority of these books were read before my busy season started. So that's definitely a win for me. I had a very beginning of the month that just went amazing. I read a lot of books. Probably helped that I drove to Lexington, Kentucky and back, which is a 9-hour drive one way. So I had 2 audiobooks that I listened to during that time, got them both finished. So I really started off my month really with a bang. So today we're going to go over those and I'm going to go over them in order. I do have a little note here that tells me the other 2 books because I don't have them physically, so I didn't want to miss those, but I'm going to tell you in order which books I read and actually tell you which ones are going to be worth the read if you haven't read them, and books that probably aren't worth the read, and if you haven't picked them up, you can probably just pass on them because they're not that great. But if they intrigue you, definitely pick them up because we all have different reading tastes. So the first one I'm going to put here, it was Invisible Girl by Lisa Jewell. I actually read this book, buddy reading it with my friend Linda, who lives overseas, and I've buddy read with her over the past couple of years on and off. She typically reads a lot of books that I don't really dabble in the genre, and I read kind of books that, she doesn't normally gravitate towards. So whenever we buddy read, it's always something that's out of my comfort zone, and sometimes it's out of her comfort zone as well. So I was really happy, to buddy read this. So Linda, thank you. You actually did a fantastic job on recommending this book. So Invisible Girl by Lisa Jewell is like what did Linda say? A domestic suspense, but maybe a little bit of a thriller. I don't know if a thriller genre is going to be worth that, but Linda definitely said it's more domestic suspense filled with a lot of drama. So in this book, you follow multiple POVs of different characters. You have a couple, that is married, that is going through some things. You have Sapphire, who is the girl. She is in high school. She was going through therapy from some things that she was trying to get over in her past and everything. And the father in that married couple is actually her therapist. And then you meet the guy across the street, and even though they don't correlate at all at the beginning, it all wraps up in the end where they are all in this mix together. So basically what happens is Sapphire ends up going missing. And at the beginning of the book, you're getting, multiple POVs, from different characters. You have the daughter from the couple who says that a guy was looking at her weird. And then you have, the friend of that daughter, who says that she left and then she got, assaulted or whatever. And then you have the father who's the therapist, and, he was talking with Sapphire and he ended that therapy relationship because he felt like she was good and didn't need it anymore. Then you have the mom who is going through some things. She, for whatever reason, started becoming jealous of her husband and insecure in their marriage. So she has a lot going on with that. The guy across the street worked at a school and ended up some allegations came out about him. So you see how his life spirals. And basically you go on this journey, and each time you jump to a new character, you are getting what's going on with them, how, their story progresses into merging with everybody else's. And every time you get Sapphire's point of view, you get like a diary type thing where she is talking about herself, but it's as if she's writing it down in a diary, is how I interpreted it. And it was really good. So you're trying to find out what happened to Sapphire. How do all of these people interconnect? It was very suspenseful, had me kind of guessing until the very end. I did not anticipate the twist that happened at the end. Did not see that coming. Of course, this is my first time really reading in this genre and reading, stories that are like this. And I'm very happy that Linda, told me about, Invisible Girl and suggested us to read it. So thank you, Linda. This one I am definitely rating 4 stars. I'm not giving it 5 because there were parts in the book that were a little lackluster to me. So if you like books where you want to know who did it, you want to follow multiple characters, and you want to go on the journey with them and see how they intersect, if you definitely like a suspenseful book where you don't quite know what's going on, and every time you turn around you think it's this person and this person and then this person, and you just keep changing your mind. It was a quick read, very enjoyable, and I highly suggest it, especially if you like books in this genre. This is going to be something that you're going to want to pick up. So the next book that I read was Stephen King's Salem's Lot. So I'm disappointed in this book, entirely disappointed, because I was expecting a horror. I was expecting to be scared out of my mind. I was expecting to be just engrossed because he is the king of horror books. This is my first time ever reading by him, and I probably didn't pick one of the best ones. Honestly, let's be very honest. So you probably are listening to this and you're like, why did you pick Salem's Lot first? That was terrible. But this book follows, what is his name? Ben Mears. And he is a writer. He goes back to Jerusalem's Lot, and it's called different things throughout the book, but he goes back to this town that he visited a while back, and he wanted to rent the house. What house is it? It's a mansion, but I can't remember what they call the mansion, the name of the mansion. But anyway, he wanted to go back and rent that mansion, write his book, all of these things. Well, the mansion had already been bought previously before he got there, so he wasn't able to do it. So he's staying in this inn, and all of these characters that he meets in this town, they're very down to earth. Nothing really over extraordinary happens. You get some different POVs, where you get a little bit more into their lives and kind of what they're going through. And so Ben just is writing this. He falls in love, or I guess is starting to fall in love with one of the girls from the town. And I didn't realize that Stephen King actually wrote like sex scenes. Now, granted, they weren't graphic or anything like that, but that was definitely a twist I didn't expect. And then also, the story was very lackluster for me. You get probably, I don't know, 550 pages in, and really nothing is happening. There's like a one-off of somebody, going missing or coming back from the dead. And, there's really not a whole lot of suspense. There's not a whole lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of telling, not really showing. And you have these 2 mystery guys that move into the mansion. And this is whenever everything starts going on. And, of course, Ben's girlfriend, is one of the first victims that actually falls to this. And then there was one side character, I don't remember her name. You don't get her POV very often, maybe just a few times. But I did not like the fact that there was child abuse in this. And not even just child abuse, baby abuse, okay? I did not know that. That was not a trigger warning that happened. And honestly, trigger warnings don't bother me like it does most people. But that one bothered me. And I wanted to stop whenever I heard that. I couldn't do it because it was honestly awful. I cried. So if you have child abuse or baby abuse or whatever as a trigger warning, do not read this because it is very horrible, and I almost couldn't finish because of it. Then, just through the whole thing, he's trying to figure out what's going on with these people, and he's teaming up with people from the town, and, and then it's like, once you finally get to the action part of it, like the last, 15% of the book, it's just very lackluster. It's like, oh, let's run here. Oh, let's grab this. And, we did this or whatever. And then, the way that it ended was honestly horrible. And after I read this, I found out that Stephen King is very infamous for this. He just does terrible endings, never, anything that you want it to be. Definitely not happy ever afters like I'm used to, which I'm okay with. Not everything has to be a happy ever after, but come on. Like, the way that it ended, if you've read this, you know. You know how it ends, and it's terrible. So, this book was not horrifying to me. It does deal with vampires. There are some trigger warnings, just like child abuse in here. So make sure you check that. I don't think I'm going to be giving a horror book by Stephen King another chance. This got a 2-star from me. I was a little bit into it up until 35% of the book, and then I was just out. I think that's when the child abuse happened, and I was out. And it didn't happen just one time. It happened a couple times. So kind of just out on that. And definitely horror book from Stephen King, I'm out again. I don't care what it is. I can't do it. I will read his other books like 11/22/63, magnificent book. Will read again. No more horror. So 2 stars for me. Check trigger warnings. If you're looking for a horror, this is probably not a good book because there's really not horror that happens. So there was that. The next book that I read was sent to me from the publisher of Bloomsbury, I believe. Yes. And it was called Of Shades and Rust and Ruin. This is a YA fantasy horror book. So it definitely fit in with my vibes for October that I was going for. And you are following, what's her name? Phoenix, which she goes by Nyx. And her family is cursed by Halloween. And every year someone dies. And so she stays up all day on Halloween until it reaches 12:01 before she can go to sleep. And she never wants to fall asleep. She always wants to make sure that she's going to live through the night and whoever, she's around is going to live. And her sister does die a year or two prior to this, book starting. And so she's kind of distraught from that. She wished that she could have saved her sister. She didn't understand why she fell asleep and her sister, ended up dying. And so she feels that guilt, survivor's guilt for it. So she's trying to unravel the mystery, and then she lives with her uncle or her cousin, and of course he's always like, it's just a story, Nyx, don't listen to it, just things happen, all of this stuff. And then Clary, I had to remind myself because I read this a few weeks ago. Clary was, I guess, like romantically involved with her sister. Maybe not physically, but I think like they both had a crush on each other. There was a kind of something going on. And then a couple years later, of course, that's, one of her best friends. And there starts to be some romantic feelings involved, but she feels guilt because, he was part of her sister's life. And so she's like, how can I do that to myself? So you go on this quest with them. Well, you don't really go on a quest, but things are happening. They're trying to find out what's going on. She ends up in another realm. She starts finding out truly what happened, who's behind it. Of course, Clary's there the whole way as well. And there's a little bit of romance, but not like sex or anything on the page, but there are like some romantic, feelings. Like there's a kiss or two, but that's about the great extent of it. And the romance is really just a dash there. It's not part of the plot at all. It's just kind of thrown in there. The biggest part of the plot is the fantasy and the horror, and this book is so good. I can't wait to read this again. So if you are looking for anything that gives you the horror vibes, something new and fresh that you've never read, because this was a very unique story. If you are wanting to follow along, because this will be a series, if you are wanting to follow along on this, if you want to learn about Nyx and what happened in Halloween and why she's cursed, definitely pick up this book. I'm so happy that Bloomsbury sent me this copy, so thank you for that. But this book was really good. I gave Stephen King, what did I say, 2 stars. This one was definitely a 5-star read for me. I loved it. I didn't expect to love it, and it gave me more horror vibes than Salem's Lot did. So definitely pick that one up. And then the next one that I read, huge disappointment, was Starry Messenger by Neil deGrasse Tyson, Cosmic Perspectives on Civilization. So by I got sent this by the publisher, who is Henry Holt Books. And from the actual cover, it has like Earth and spacey going on. So it's one of my passions, one of my hobbies. And so I was like, I can't wait to read it. It's not very big. And then as I'm reading it, I realized that it's Neil deGrasse Tyson's political views on everything. It has nothing to do with aliens or civilizations on other planets like I assumed it did. It doesn't have, like, there's one or two chapters that maybe talks a little bit about like how aliens would view us, as a civilization, but nothing about how we view them, or, the possibility of aliens or life on other planets, or, just anything in general on another galaxy or anything like that I had expected. This was more like on a political front. It kind of talked about like the vaccine, the COVID vaccine, which you have people that are for it and against it. This is, a debate that everybody's having, and it's more like fighting. You get his political stance on a lot of different things that he weaves in there, and I was not happy about it at all. He talks about other countries. He talks about his view on just different things that have to do with our world now. So did not expect that from this cover or even the title, because it's Starry Messenger, Cosmic Perspectives on Civilization. So anyway, I was very upset, but I guess I should have read the back, because in the very first sentence it says, in a time when our political and cultural views feel more polarized than ever, Tyson provides a much needed antidote to so much of what divides us, while making a passionate case for the twin chariots of enlightenment, a cosmic perspective, and the rationality of science. I won't do it again. 1 star. I won't do it again. So the next book that I read is called Royal Rod Anthology, and it has some of the authors like Ivy Crimson, Ardella Dark, Cassie Keegan, Nicole Wells. There's probably a couple others, but I got sent an ARC copy of this before it released, and it just released this month. So it is a bunch of erotic stories that are quite different. You have, shifter romance, you have alien romance, you have fae romance, you have some that have polyamorous romances in there. So anything paranormal or fantasy type romance that you like, this book is going to give you a short erotic story for anything that you do like. And it was good. It was wonderful. Some stories I really wasn't into, like the alien romance. It was a little too much for me. I couldn't finish it, but there are other ones in there that I really loved. The one by Nicole Wells was called The Great Royal Debacle, I believe, and I really loved it because I actually read this story before I knew that it was part of an anthology. I thought it was just a novella that Nicole was writing, because it was many months ago that she sent it to me and said, just tell me what you think. Right? So I did. I loved it because it follows Aurelia, who is the book fairy in the Worst Story Ever Written, which we all know how I feel about that book because I love it. But you get more of Aurelia's story, and it's more erotic, and it's more, like down my alley. It wasn't too long, wasn't too short. I think it was the perfect thing that really kind of gave me an extra perspective in that world. So a lot of these stories are amazing. If you like anthologies, or if you just want a few short stories that maybe give you some really spicy romance in that paranormal or fantasy world, pick this up. It just came out this month. I absolutely loved it. Like I said, there were a few stories that I did skip, so you can do the same. Skip some of the stories if you don't like them, but start trying out them. Like, read a little bit into it before you say you're not going to read it, because even if you don't like shifter romance and you come across the shifter romance, doesn't mean you're not going to like it, because these authors did a great job. So the next book that I read was Long Live the Pumpkin Queen by Shay Aaron Shaw. This is a continuation from Nightmare Before Christmas, and on this, you get Sally's point of view. This is after the events of the movie, and her and Jack are getting married on Skull Hill, and now Sally is transitioning into being the Pumpkin Queen, and all of a sudden her world is turned upside down because all she wants to do is just be with Jack and love Jack. That is the love of her life. And all of a sudden, they're getting ready to leave for their honeymoon. And I won't tell you where they go because that does ruin the story. But they go on their honeymoon to a place, and they only spend one day there, but she gets to see, a whole different holiday town and, how it's ran and things. So she really likes it, and she wants to stay there with Jack for a lot longer. But whenever they get back, the mayor is freaking out saying, Jack, we only have 2 weeks until Halloween, and, we have so much to do. And then all of a sudden, Sally is starting to feel overwhelmed because now you have the vampire prince and you have a couple other people that are getting involved, wanting to give her a crown, change her dress, just all about, being around her. People are always wanting to touch her because now she's the Pumpkin Queen, and it's overwhelming for her. So she runs away. She's just like, I gotta get away for a moment. Ghost, their dog, follows her. She goes into the forest where all the other holiday trees are, and she was gonna go back to the town that her and Jack had their honeymoon in, but she sees a bunch of bramble, a bunch of bushes and stuff, and so she weeds it away because Ghost is actually barking at it and snarling at it. So she moves it and finds a holiday tree, or a tree that is ancient, and it has like a moon on the top, and she doesn't know, she's never heard of this place. So all of a sudden she opens it, wind comes out, she runs away, she gets freaked out, but she leaves the door open. She goes back to Halloween Town. She ends up falling asleep in the graveyard. Whenever she wakes up, something's wrong in Halloween Town. Everyone's asleep. Why can't she wake everybody up? Everybody's dusted with this, dust stuff, and they won't wake up. She even tries to make a potion from Dr. Finkelstein's lab to wake Jack up, and it nothing works. And then all of a sudden she hears, the character that is looming around Halloween Town trying to find her. And so you follow that story. Now Sally has to save Halloween Town. She has to save everyone from this creature that has put everyone to sleep. And now, whenever she just wanted to be alone with Jack, now she's truly alone because it's just her and Ghost. And so she goes on this journey into this new tree, and she goes to an ancient realm that no one has ever heard of. And the story just goes from there. I loved it. It was cute. It gave me the vibes I wanted. It gave me Halloween vibes. It brought me back to Halloween Town and the love of my life, Jack Skellington. I got Sally's, voice, and you get to hear her character a lot. And so it gives you all of those vibes and all of those feels. However, I only gave it 3 stars because did we really need a book from Sally's voice? Probably not. You actually get Sally's backstory, which she doesn't normally have a backstory because everyone thinks she was created in Dr. Finkelstein's lab. So Shay Earnshaw did a really good job in giving Sally a backstory, did a great job on giving her a voice and showing us, the type of character that Sally is instead of just in the movies. I loved it, guys. It brought me back to Nightmare Before Christmas and all of those feels that I have. Could I have lived without this story? Yes. Did it live up to any expectation I had set? Absolutely not. I hated the story in parts. It was very lackluster. I felt like I was confused in a lot of it because I felt like the story just went way too quickly. This book is barely 300 pages and the words are so big. And so you don't actually get back into Halloween Town. By the time you get immersed into it, you're done. And so I was just getting confused and all of this stuff. So if you want to continue Nightmare Before Christmas, if you want those Halloween vibes, if you want to go back to those characters you fell in love with back in the early 90s, it's a good read. I suggest you read it. But do not go in expecting for this to be an epic 5-star read because it is not going to be. It's going to fall short in a lot of places, but that's okay because I love Nightmare Before Christmas, so I will still cherish this for the rest of my life. And then the next book that I read is Midnight Crown by Rebecca Garcia. This is book 2 in the Shadow Kiss series. I've already read this. I'm a beta reader for her, but I ended up reading it again because book 3, Darkest Heart, is coming out. She pushed it back to, I think, beginning of December, beginning to mid-December. So right now we are actively beta reading it right now. And I read the first chapter and I was like, you know what? I read Midnight Crown like 2 or 3 months ago. I want to go back, get a refresher. So I did. I picked it up. This is following, I'm not going to tell you what this book is following because it's going to ruin almost everything. But the series in itself follows Olivia, and Olivia is a sorceress, and she lives in Baldoria, and she is living with her mom. She doesn't know who her father is, and her mom is like the head of this guild that keeps everybody safe from the vampires in San Morte. And, her boyfriend committed suicide, and so she's been grieving for that for months, trying to learn how to heal, and she's just not doing well. She's not coming out of that grief. Her best friend Draven is part of the guild, and so all of a sudden one night, whenever Draven is actually staying with Olivia because her mom doesn't want her to be alone, the town all of a sudden is invaded by vampires. Her mom is kidnapped. Draven is doing everything he can to get her back to the guild, and as soon as they do, people in the guild are being slaughtered. Vampires are already in the guild, so Draven's trying his hardest. Draven ends up getting kidnapped. Olivia is unconscious and is whisked away. She wakes up in a house in San Morte with Sebastian and some of the side characters, Ariana, Zach, and Anna. And so, she's not doing well. She doesn't know what's going on, but they start forming a bond, like especially Ariana. She really starts, connecting with her. And they're all vampires except Anna. And Anna, and Ariana really start forming this like girl group. And then, Zach, she likes Zach. And then, of course, Sebastian is wearing on her. And then all of a sudden, she's trying to find Draven. Sebastian's doing everything he can. And so I can't tell you much more of the story without giving anything away. But Midnight Crown continues that story, and oh my goodness, are things happening, you guys. So, of course, I've already read this, but reading it a second time really just brings everything back for me, and I am obsessed with this series. If you like vampires, if you like dark romance, if you like morally gray characters, if you like a vast world that is very descriptive and you just can be immersed into it, if you like court politics, this book is going to give you a little bit of everything. But do check trigger warnings, as the first book didn't have very many. The second book does, and I think the third book is going to have more than that, because I want to say, and I don't even think Rebecca has this as one of the trigger warnings, but there's a little bit of, I don't know, non-consensual, because I don't know. She never says yes. She does say that he needs to leave, but things happen. So I would say it's on like a dubious consent, non-consent type of thing. There is assault in here. I'm losing my bookmark from the front. There is assault. There is blood play. There is a lot of dark themes in here. So there was one part where if you have read this book, then you know that there's this one part where Olivia is served food. And that's all I can say. And it's not what you think it is or what Olivia thinks it is. And whenever Rebecca wrote that, it worked well in the story. But it made me sick because I was like, whoa, we went really far with this. But it works. So it works in the story. It works for the world. It works for the dark component. So it's not very long. It's just a very brief part in the book, but still. This book is amazing. If you like vampires, if you like dark romance, like I said, pick up Shadow Kissed, which is the first book, and then pick up Midnight Crown that just came out, and then go over and pre-order Darkest Heart, because I tell you what, You're going to read the first book that's setting everything up. You're going to get into Midnight Crown and you're not going to be able to put it down. Honestly. So 5 stars for me. Rebecca Garcia has made her way onto my instant pickup authors. If I wasn't a beta reader for her, I would still have her as my instant authors, but I am a beta reader, so thank goodness I don't have to wait as long as everybody else does to know what happens. So pick that up if you like it. And then finally, the last book that I read was on my Kindle, and it was called an Untraditional Fairy Tale by Corey Zahara. Now, I was recommended this book because it's supposed to be a dark romance and very spicy, and like there's a lot of dark themes in here. You have kidnapping, you have rape, you have abuse, you have a lot of things going on. And what it is it's about our main character. She has a job that is not, necessarily your normal 9 to 5. She is an escort, but she doesn't sleep with her clients, and she's in France. And so this guy started emailing her, and she has no idea who he is, but apparently he knows who she is, and they've been doing it for a couple weeks or a couple months, and she looks forward to talking to him, but she's never heard his voice. She's never seen a picture of him. And so you get to the part where all of a sudden, he wants to talk to her on the phone and meet up with her. He says, give me 7 days. And for those 7 days, I just want to have you as mine and, whatever. But apparently he doesn't want to have a relationship. So she's being a little hard to get, saying, I don't sleep with my clients, because she doesn't, but he's not a client. And so they talk on the phone. He tells her to come outside. Things just kind of go from there. She does end up getting kidnapped. And there's a lot of things that happen to our female main character that a lot of people would not be okay with. So definitely check trigger warnings. This was a dark romance. Yes. Did I feel the romance? No, not at all. I feel like we're told that she cares about this character, or we're told that he cares about her, but whenever it comes to showing and on the page feeling it, I did not feel that. So if you are wanting a dark romance and you want to kind of dabble into it, check the trigger warnings first, but then might pick this up. This was an okay read. I don't think that it would be something that I'm going to revisit again. I don't know if I'm going to give the author another shot, because I just wasn't wowed by what happened. But if any of you have read this book or have ever heard of it, tell me what your thoughts are on it. Like I said, it did give me my dark elements. It did give me, the really bad things that a lot of people shy away from. But at the same time, I just did not feel the romance, and I just didn't feel the story very well. I feel like it's sex or non-consensual sex or rape or whatever, just, encased in a bubble of a plot that really doesn't fully flow. The romance fully isn't there. And so I feel like it was just grasping at parts, of trying to make it a story. So like I said, it was just an okay read. It was a 3 star. So you may want to pick it up if you do like things like that. If you are not into dark romance, just don't even try, because it is very dark, but you're not going to get romance. So just leave that alone. So those are my books for October, all 8 of them, I believe. I'm very happy that I got through 3 of the arcs that I had to do this month, which was Of Shades of Rust and Ruin, Starry Messenger, and the Royal Rod Anthology. So I'm happy I got through those. I'm happy I got to revisit the Shadow-Kissed World. I'm happy I got brought back to Nightmare Before Christmas. Stephen King can just stay away. That's all I feel. So anyway, everyone, I am going to have a surprise video coming out probably on Sunday, the day after this is coming out, because I'm going to give you my November TBR, even though typically I'm only going to be uploading every Saturday. Sunday, I'm definitely going to do a one-off just so I can get it in before November starts. So if any of you want to read with me, you can. I always give them to you in order of how I'm going to read them. So pretty excited. Leave me a comment below. Let me know if you've read any of these books, how you feel about them. Check out my description below. Head on over to my Instagram, Let's Talk Books. I'm always there. Give me recommendations. Let's talk about books that I've already read, or let's talk about books that I'm currently reading. If you want to follow me on Goodreads as well, my link is in the description. But make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe. Even though I'm down to one video a week for the moment, come back because I got some really, really good videos coming out, some good ideas, and I know that you're going to be very excited for that. So until next time, everyone, I hope you have a great day. Bye!